Hello and welcome to Tips from a Roller. I'm Pat. I am the Senior Digital Marketing Manager at AdRoll. Here to talk to you about dynamic UTM value parameters or dynamic insertion. Taking every one of your ads across campaigns, ad sets, and including 5 values for every ad for all that can get pretty tiresome. So I want to tell you about dynamic value parameters, kind of a shortcut you can use for all those values. They're like a placeholder in your URL query that will populate with the values that you want to specify when someone clicks on your ad. So for example, in a campaign named retargeting, with this URL query that has the UTM underscore campaign equals and then bracketed AdRoll campaign name, when someone clicks that from your retargeting campaign, that person will visit your website at that URL with the query UTM underscore campaign equals retargeting. So your retargeting campaign took the bracketed placeholder and filled it with the retargeting word when someone clicked. This is available on a number of platforms. They have differing names for different platforms though. Google calls them value track parameters. Facebook calls them URL dynamic parameters, and AdRoll calls them macros. Searching into these on the web should return documentation on each if you want to get into the detail, which you probably should before you use them. So for AdRoll, the dynamic value parameters go into the value part of the name value pair. So like UTM underscore term equals, and then one of these parameters that you see here. You can see a list of some that are available from AdRoll, like campaign name and the device type like tablet, phone, computer, and then the EIDs are essentially just the IDs of each of those assets. This is a closer look at the destination URL you put it in after the question mark in the same field as your URL, or it's part of the URL. Yeah. Facebook ads has these available. Notice that these are double curly brackets, whereas AdRoll was a single like square box bracket. Pay attention to that when you're using them because they differ across networks. You could use ID or name for Facebook, and the ads in Facebook have a actual URL parameters field that is separate from the URL like domain and path. You do not need to put a question mark in the field. You can see an example I have here of mine. This is a closer up of it. I'm using more than just UTM terms here. You don't need to. You can pick and choose what you want. But interesting to note, placement is where on Facebook's properties your ad was clicked. So that'll show up as things like Facebook mobile newsfeed, Facebook desktop newsfeed, Instagram newsfeed, Instagram stories, Instagram marketplace, or like Messenger or some other stuff. Site source name is similar, but a little less detailed. So that will just be like Facebook, Instagram, Messenger, etc. Those are nice to use. You can use them maybe in like source or in Medium or the way I do, which is I just add custom dimensions. It's an interesting thing to use. Google Ads, you want to use the tracking template field. You can see there's a tracking template and a final URL suffix field. I just use the tracking template because it enables more things that you can like read about if you go into their documentation. A list of some of the value parameters they offer. There's actually a ton from Google, but some of them are a little esoteric and you might not be using them. It's a single curly bracket, and you can actually take a shortcut with Google Ads and apply them at the campaign or ad group level. So if you include something like UTM term equals ad group ID and UTM content equals creative, then if you apply that at the campaign level, it will populate the ad group ID and the creative, so you don't have to set it at each ad group or each ad level. If you want to use names, then you have to do it manually, but if you're cool with the IDs, then you don't have to go through all the ads. You can just set it at a higher level. So it's campaign, ad group, or ad level. You can also kind of combine them. And so just put UTM campaign in your campaign and then add the others to the individual levels. But I find it's a lot easier just to put them in one asset. So basically, these dynamic values, the placeholders, reduce the effort that you need to put into your UTMs. You can develop a standard query string for a set of campaigns, copy and paste it in bulk edX. That's what I do in Facebook. I just select all my ads, and if there are any that are empty, that string from one, and then put it into all the empty ones at once. And I don't have to change anything. And then modify individual values as you need. I do modify individual values in Google Ads because that doesn't support names, but yeah, you can find a way to use these and they'll save you a lot of time. Thanks for watching.